Donald Trump, whatever it is he's doing, whatever period of his life it is, he likes to tell a lie and then repeat that one lie more than he repeats any other lie. Okay? We saw it during his first term after he ran against Hillary Clinton. He talked about the fact repeatedly that he actually got more votes than her in the popular vote, and that's just everything was wrong. After the 2020 election, we listened to him up to this day even talk about like the election was rigged and stolen, because he can't spell the word stolen for some reason. But ever since he got back into office, one of the things he has repeatedly boasted about, and of course lied about, is the $17 trillion in investments that he has secured for our country. Every few days, the 17 trillion, 17 trillion, 17 trillion. And last week, he actually upped it to 18 trillion. So now there's 18 trillion in foreign investments coming into the United States. And I have repeatedly debunked that. I've talked about the fact that the European Union, who pledged 650 billion, I think it is, said, actually, we're not going to do it, but maybe our businesses could do it if they choose to. We don't know. Essentially, all of the things Trump has said, all of the countries he said are doing these big investments, none of it's real. It's all fake. And the $18 trillion number is also fake because according to the White House's own website, they put all the numbers out there like Doge did, and that only adds up to 8 trillion. So even their own numbers show that Trump's 18 trillion number is a lie, but it gets even worse when you break it down. And as I've said, I've broken it down to a degree in the past, but CNN's Daniel Dale, right, resident fact checker, actually did a phenomenal job of breaking it down and explaining why none of this is real. Like literally none of it's real. So let me read you this. This is from Daniel Dale. First off, the 600 billion from EU firms, even though the European Union has made clear that this is merely an estimate of potential private investment, not an actual commitment. So right off the top, 600 billion off the 8 trillion, gone. 600 billion from Saudi Arabia, even though the Saudis' vague 600 billion pledge encompasses both, quote, investments and trade, not simply Saudi investment in the U.S. So basically what that means is we'll buy about 600 billion worth of weapons. We're not investing in your country, and that 600 billion will likely be spread out over, 10 to 20 years. 500 billion from India, even though the two countries have said the 500 billion is a goal for bilateral trade, not Indian investment in the U.S. So 500 billion in trade, some from them, some to them. We don't even know, but we may lose money on that deal. 1.2 trillion from Qatar, even though the White House previously announced that Trump's agreement with Qatar is to generate 1.2 trillion in, quote, economic exchange. So they're not investing that. We're just economic exchange. I don't even know what that means. But okay, it's not an investment, and we are not going to see that money. It is not going to create jobs. None of what I have read so far has anything to do with job creation or anything. Nothing. 1.4 trillion from the United Arab Emirates, even though this is a vague pledge made more than double the size of the UAE's gross domestic product. So it's more money than they even have. And they're like, yeah, we give you 1.4 trillion now. Okay, there you go. Like it's not even real because the money doesn't even exist. 1 trillion from Japan, even though Japan's actual pledge is 550 billion. And Japan insists that even this smaller amount will overwhelmingly be made up of loans and loan guarantees, not equity investment. So again, not job creation, but if, businesses in the U.S. need to borrow money, we could lend them money, I guess. That's what that is. It's not an investment. It's just, if you guys want some money, you come ask Uncle Japan over here. 450 billion from South Korea, even though South Korea made a 350 billion pledge that is in limbo amid tensions with the U.S. Because, of course, what happened at that Georgia Hyundai plant. And finally, more than $1 trillion in vague corporate pledges that analysts say likely include normal operational spending and previously planned investments. So, nothing. Nothing beyond what these places were already doing, yet Trump is bragging about it like a conquering hero. And the White House spokesperson Kush Desai said, quote, said this to CNN's Daniel Dale. The president is right. Industry leaders have committed to investing trillions to make and hire in America, with trillions more to come. The media is doing pointless and pedantic nitpicking. If by nitpicking you mean making sure the president isn't lying about what's coming to the United States, then sure, that's nitpicking. But the reality is none of these investments are going to materialize. I'd love it if they did. Right? I would say, hey, Trump did a good thing. I'm not afraid to praise him if he ever does something good. He did 2 good things in his first term, and I praised him for that. They both got overturned, right? We had the bump stock ban, and we had the executive order forcing pharmaceutical companies to put their prices on their commercials. I thought those were both good things. But those were eventually overturned, so we ended up with 0 good things. So I am not afraid to praise him if he does something good. Getting $18 trillion in investments, getting even $8 trillion in investments would be good, but unfortunately, none of it's real. I wish it were, but we can't just wish our way to a better society or a better government. It takes action. It takes people who are good at negotiating, good at making deals. And even though Donald Trump has built his brand on being the guy to do that, he clearly can't actually make it happen. Thanks for watching, everyone. You know, we're inching closer and closer to 1 million subscribers, and we're aiming to hit that goal before the year closes. So if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please do so, and don't forget to like, comment, and share. Thanks for joining us as we head towards this huge milestone.